Welcome to the Port Charles Update with your hosts, Mish and Mel. Hey Mel, how was your week?
Oh my gosh, I'm sick, so here's my voice for this episode. Let's do it.
Okay, are you ready? It was a really great week this week.
Oh my God, so jam-packed. I have lots to say. Where do you want to jump into first?
Let's start at the beginning. Everything that kind of kickstarts a lot of the action is Laura. So let's go back to Laura finding a brick with a name on it, because
I
that's how
didn't
I thought that
know,
was going to happen.
right? I did not even know what to make of that situation. Like, oh my gosh, she's delusional. She's dehydrated. She's living on love here. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I just thought that the scene started out really funny, especially with Laura making the comment that we've made no progress getting out of here. Like I thought that was like a really funny line, and reflects a lot of like what we're thinking is what's going on with these two. Like who would find them at this point? So that was interesting. So it kind of starts the whole idea of them getting out themselves. But I just think it's kind of funny that they see that name and look how quickly they discovered a secret passageway out of the hospital. Meanwhile, how long has this investigation been going on?
Well,
Meanwhile,
it's
Franco has said how many times is Ryan Chamberlain? They've heard a voicemail confirming that he was working with Jordan and there was still confusion. So it kind of shocked me how fast Laura and Kevin solve this riddle and find a secret passageway.
Well, I feel like she was like the catalyst to all this. I did
She
think
was.
about at one part in the scene though, because when Kevin started talking before they got into, who this guy was with the name on the brick, I was so bored of him talking that I'm like, right now, I really want to see Ryan.
I mean, like when Ryan was first introduced, before everything got kind of like murdery and killing off characters that we like,
Yeah.
it was hotter. Like Kevin suddenly became extra interesting. So like, I mean, that's one thing we have to say goodbye to is an interesting, interesting Kevin. But yeah, so the thing is, he still hasn't broken it to Laura that he had held his brother captive. So that'll be really funny when it does come out. So they find the passageway, and at this point, I just was yelling at my TV. I'm like, just be brave, Laura. Just go. Like, leave him. He doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to slow you down. Just go. So I was happy that she finally got it together, went in the passageway, but I just thought it was really interesting how they filmed it. I don't know if they were trying to make it look like Laura's passageway led down to like a special exit, because they had the shot so tight on her when it was clearly the same door that Franco exited by. And the one thing that I couldn't understand was when she resurfaces later at the hospital claiming that someone found her on the side of the highway. I just kept thinking, didn't she follow Ryan in a car? And you obviously came out
Oh,
of an exit that was Ferncliffe's exit. It was like a green door. Couldn't you have just went to the parking lot and get your car?
maybe he took her car keys. He did take her phone.
I'm gonna hope that that's true. Because she made it seem like she didn't know where she came out of. It appeared like there was confusion and she just didn't seem to know, okay, I'm out, but I don't know where I am. That's what it kind of looked like to me. So she finally makes it to the police station, and I love how, I mean, obviously she got the words up, like in true soap opera form, they try to like prolong that and everyone keeps
Yes.
cutting her off. There was this like all this red tape, like the cop is like, no, don't talk, I'll go get Chase, and I'll go tell Chase on your behalf, and they're all like 3 feet apart at this point. So that was amazing. The confirmation that Ryan Chamberlain was alive. And I mean, Franco didn't really get to there, really. It was Chase who kind of like he mumbled Ryan's name, and then Chase started asking about Ryan specifically. So ultimately, like it was Laura.
Laura was ultimately the one that, made things come together and was able to confirm 100% that there are two of these guys now walking around.
But I have to say, so we finally have Curtis who listens to the voicemail. He convinces Goody Two Shoes Chase to bypass the red tape and crack open Jordan's phone. What bothered me a lot about their interaction was that they listened to the voicemail that clearly said, our plan worked, your plan
Yeah.
worked. It clearly indicated that we were working together. But what bugged me was that after listening to the voicemail, Chase is like, yeah, but it doesn't explain why Franco was listed as urgent, or
Yeah.
why he would have had a phone. And I'm just like, No, that actually does explain it because he has a phone because he's working with Jordan. What?
I know it's
Like
like they forgot they had Jordan's phone in their hands.
it was just really odd. Like if Jordan had his number listed under urgent and gave him that phone and the voicemail confirms that they were working together, I just felt like that kind of filled in a lot of the blanks. And that's the thing. Like notice that Curtis is always there to like usher in the common sense because it's not like he knew for sure what Jordan was doing, but he's really able to kind of, it doesn't take much to piece it together.
Absolutely. Like he was right on the ball. He knew what was happening. He pulled from their previous conversation. And I mean, and Chase even said, "Oh, Jordan called me because she wanted to have me involved in something." Like put
Yeah.
two and two together.
Yeah, so that was like dragged just a little bit. And I mean, it doesn't really help Chase's case all that much. Like, he's pretty slow. I mean, he's so meticulous and he's good at his job, but like with everything thrown in his face, it's still not like happening. And he's not the person to kind of help make it happen either, given that he was on the case from the start with Jordan. And so, even like more ridiculous about Chase's kind of role in all this was when Laura tells him who it is and wants to go get Kevin, and he's trying to be like, "Okay, let's just stand here longer, talk a little longer, and tell me everything you know." So I really love that Laura was more about taking action and using common sense and being
Yes.
like, "Can we not talk as we like keep going and walk and drive and go get Kevin and all that stuff?" So I mean, I I mean, we always hoped in the end that like Laura would get Ryan, and we hypothesized that like Ava would get Ryan. But I guess I never like. I mean, we weren't gonna know until we knew. But Laura really had a huge role all week in kind of pushing things forward, from figuring it out to being all the way there at the end on Friday's episode. So one thing that like is worth mentioning, your prediction was right. Ryan opened the trunk,
Oh, you
opened
reopen the
reopened
trunk.
the trunk, and shoved Carly in.
When he reopened the trunk, I'm like, no, I didn't want to be right.
Last week I kept saying, everyone has bits of information. Carly's been running around with this Wilson name for months now. And
Yes.
I guess last week I was trying to say like how is all of this going to come together? Like is everyone's bit of information going to culminate in catching Ryan? And the truth is no. It didn't. Laura figured it out because she followed
Yes.
him and she got herself into trouble as a result, but in the end no actual information caused Laura to like have an epiphany. She just followed him and figured it out and escaped and told the police. So again, Carly for months has
Oh
been going on
God,
about
I
this
know.
Wilson name, and it did absolutely nothing but cause her to annoy the killer. Like every time she went up to him, he was unhelpful. He lied to her. He would get angry at her, and she persisted in going to him. And I just don't understand that. Like he's not trying to help you in any sense of the word. And Jason was right. If you want to know this, just ask
Mm.
Spinelli. And so she went up to him one more time and got herself into a lot of trouble for knowing this little piece of information. And I'm not sure how this piece of information was ultimately helpful to anything.
Absolutely. And it was kind of confusing because we know Carly's character and that she is a very strong character and she's pushy. But I agree, like she felt that her interactions with Kevin were off, but yet she still will go back and still push and push and push, where she did have access to other outlets to get the right information. I just didn't
Yeah.
get that part.
No, you're right, because Carly was smart enough to know that he was lying to her and he didn't want
Hmm.
her to kind of know the truth, but yet she persisted. And it just feels like that's kind of goes against Carly's savvy in a
Yes.
way of understanding what real danger is. I think anyway. I think that typically she reads people much better than that. So yeah, I really don't know what to think about that. So not only was Carly's piece of information of Wilson kind of useless and actually getting anywhere in catching Ryan Chamberlain, Felicia. So now we have Felicia.
Oh
I mean,
my
there's a
God.
historic connection between her and Ryan. So having her involved, I think, was obviously kind of important. Like if anybody would have recognized anything, it would have been Felicia. And when she bumped into him in the garage, I mean, thankfully Ava saved her by showing up. But when
Yes.
she kind of recognized something and then went upstairs and said, she didn't even say like it's Ryan, and it was more he's acting like Ryan. But I mean, does Kevin know every single minute interaction you've ever had to
Exactly.
repeat the exact same phrase that he stated to you years ago when you were alone. And so her realization was extremely chilling. And I figured, okay, like she has this realization, she'll run over and bump into the cops and like tell them this information, and it would help to kind of validate Franco's, mumblings of Ryan Chamberlain before he actually woke up again. But that served nothing.
No, like she didn't elaborate. She didn't like. I loved the fact that there was a flashback. It's so awesome that those characters have been on there for so long that we got to see that. But the fact that she didn't elaborate on exactly that, go and talk to the police, say how weird it was. How would Kevin know this specific thing? It just kind of fell flat.
It did. Like, I mean, it was a really cool scene. And I remember the end of that episode thinking, oh my God, but nothing really came of it. And even looking back now, I wasn't even going to mention this, but now that we're talking about all the things that didn't actually help in catching Ryan, here's
Mhm.
another. Anna and Finn. So
Oh,
they
good.
walk up to kind of say that, Ryan Chamberlain's name came up. But again, the name having come up, how did that help them figure out that it was Ryan Chamberlain other than his name came up somewhere else? Because at this point, even though things were pointing to the fact that Franco was possibly attacked, he gave you the name Ryan Chamberlain, who looks exactly like the psychiatrist who went to go visit him, the psychiatrist who kind of helped also put him away.
Yes.
So at this point, it's just like I don't understand. There was a lot of evidence already. The phone call from Jordan. How off the attack was, like Franco's injuries. So having Ryan Chamberlain's name come up with Anna, like it just sucked that it didn't really help. It didn't add to anything really. It didn't even come up that, hey, Ryan and Kevin were part of a study that I was in like a bajillion years ago during a time where we presumed Ryan to be dead, and it was a twin study,
Exactly.
so he may be alive. So that fact didn't even come up to sort of
I
justify
was
the fact that we don't think Ryan Chamberlain is dead. That didn't even come up. It was just, hey, Ryan Chamberlain came up in our case, but they didn't say we don't think he's dead.
exactly. And then Chase said something really weird too. He's like, Ryan Chamberlain's name's been coming up a whole lot when he was talking to Kevin. It's like, yeah, yeah, it has, but like you're not connecting the dots properly.
No, no, not at all, not at all. So I mean, people are believing Franco, but again, even him waking up didn't help.
Mhm.
But everything he did before that obviously helped push the story forward. I mean, at the end of the day, Jordan's plan did work. It did.
Yeah.
It worked, and I mean, even though she got hit and everything, it still worked. The voicemail, all that. So I mean, Franco really helped everything. And him waking up, we're glad that he's okay. We knew he would be okay. But even him waking up still didn't do anything, because I felt like they weren't going to believe him until like you have somebody like Laura that they feel is more credible to kind of validate
Absolutely.
that.
Agreed. And when she did, and they were like, "Oh, okay, let's move this show along right now." But yeah, I just felt like it was kind of cut short a bit on certain things, because they wanted the story to maybe come to a close.
I mean, I guess all these little elements at the end of the day will be there in the aftermath. Like, these are things that people are going to look back on, like, why didn't I see it? And blah, blah, blah. So,
Okay.
like, those little bits and pieces, they just seem to be gossip, like things the town will be talking about after. But the moment I had been waiting for
I was
happened.
waiting for you to say
It
this.
happened. Lulu finds out she was wrong, and I loved it. And I mean, she gets all mad and angry, and we should tattoo his forehead. And I'm just looking at her like, this is absolutely insane. She's like, how could this be? And I love how suddenly she remembers. She's like, hold on, let me call on my fuzzy memory that was clearly unreliable to start with.
Before.
And she's picturing both faces and being like, yep, you're right. Now somebody else says something.
Oh,
And now that's true. And I mean, yes, of course she was manipulated. Everyone was manipulated. But what I love the most, and in true Lulu fashion, she sees Elizabeth.
yeah.
A lot went down between the two of them. She told her off, she, like, all this stuff. And and so she's sitting across from her, and I'm listening to what she's saying. The first thing that came out of this girl's mouth was, I was manipulated. And she went on about how she's manipulated, and then she stops. And I was actually surprised to hear the word sorry come out of her mouth so soon after her, beginning rant of saying that, like, she was manipulated. And the thing is, she didn't actually say sorry. She said, I can't say I'm sorry enough to you. Okay, but when are you gonna start saying it at least once?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by Lulu. She did not even try to say sorry. She just made it automatically about her. And she's never actually going to say sorry. I don't know if she's capable.
Well, no, because this is going to be really rough on her that she kind of helped to point the finger to Franco, which ultimately led to capturing Ryan. So I kept trying to think about Lulu's role in all of this because her memories never came back, and nothing about any of her journalistic investigation helped to
No.
resolve any of this. So she didn't help. Like she didn't help to capture Ryan at all. But I was thinking about the incident, you know. So okay, if she didn't help, how did she push the story forward? And I'm guessing, like obviously with her attack, she was able to. We were able to use Lulu to then point the finger at Franco.
Exactly. Like her figuring out those two names that Laura saw on the list really pushed things for, Kevin, like Ryan to go and see her and for the attack to start.
So then we have Laura and Jason coming together. So now let's once again let's dip back into the whole Wilson thing. So Jason is running around the hospital, and like I didn't know what was going to happen because we saw Jason walk, and then afterwards, like Kevin and Laura kind of cross. So I'm like, is he like missing them completely? But I guess he might have circled back, circles
I
back
thought that was
into.
so funny because like I saw him leave and I was like, all I kept thinking was, oh my gosh, is he gonna miss this part? He needs to be back. And then there he was, just right around the corner.
Right? So he comes back, and so Jason now puts it together because like, remember,
Uh-huh.
like Jason and Carly were sort of the first ones to kind of be aware of this person, you know, this person that would later be Ryan. And so basically, Jason confronts Kevin, just saying that he knows that that person was Ryan, and then just went into the whole thing. So Jason right now is the only one who knows the truth about what Kevin did. I'm not really sure how Kevin helped him, other than clarify the timeline and clarify that Carly all these months has been talking to Ryan and not Kevin.
Yeah, I think that was like the only thing that he got out of him, honestly.
Okay, so the thing about Jason working with Laura, I just want to say this. I love those two working together, but did the story need to include Jason or Carly at all at this point?
Honestly, I feel like it didn't. All I kept thinking when Carly was in the trunk was, way to start, your wedding with your frenemy in your trunk. That's always how you have to do it. No. And
Well,
then
it's
like
never it's
I
never valid
wanted
until she rubs Carly's nose in it. So I mean, it is fitting.
it is fitting, but I agree. Jason thrown into the mix and Carly, it just pushed it next level. I don't know if it's because Joss was there and they were trying to tie that all together and bring in the whole, because we know that Jax eventually is going to come back. So I don't know if that just kind of plays into all of that storyline.
I have no idea, but it did make me think of something. So, Steve Burton and Bradford Anderson's podcast, that's awesome. So, they read mean tweets, and one of them a long time ago was really funny, but they ended up talking about the fact that, like, one of the mean tweets was somebody commenting about the fact that Jason gets inserted into every storyline. And so they confronted Steve Burton with this, and it was pretty funny in one of their past podcasts. But like now, I'm kind of seeing it. Like for me, I like the character Jason, so I don't mind. But I have to say, in this instance, Carly knowing the name Wilson and being kidnapped is a total aside because she's not even there. Like she's not even present. She doesn't really help push the storyline. I mean, the only thing I can really think of is, look, I'm not going to complain when you mix things up, and having Laura and Jason paired together, that's not something we see every day, so that I don't mind at all. But another reason is this, you know, like she could have obviously taken Chase, but if you want things to happen
If you want
and
things to happen quickly.
yeah, and basically bringing Jason allows lines to be crossed. And like right now, Laura was all about taking action. I think she knows who works for her. She really wanted this done. So I mean, I love Laura, and so somebody said, oh, this was really cute. So Gina Fault said, love this dynamic duo, especially Laura taking on the adventurous and dangerous side of things again, like back in the Luke and Laura days. So it's really nice to see Laura in such an empowering role, and I think a lot of people feel that way. You have Lansbury's mommy said Laura was amazing yesterday. That's the Laura we know and love. So I do love her jumping into the action. And so yeah, part of me thinks that's one of the reasons is that having Jason involved means that things can kind of go in any way, basically.
Same. Like I liked the expression on her face, the seriousness when they were leaving Charlie's, and heading on their adventure. I also liked when she said, if I'm sitting in the car and something happens or needs to be done, as long as I don't know about it, we're good.
I love that. Like, don't ask, don't tell. And
Right?
see, Hona said, if this is how she mares, then I'm into it. A little corruption is not not all bad. Not in Port Charles anyway. I don't think you can be so clean. Like we've seen the PCPD rely on. Well, like I mean, Jordan relies on Curtis in a way, even as like the PI because he can blur lines. And I mean, Sunny has helped on cases too because they can do things that the PCPD can't at this point.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So I just think that Jason's hilarious for thinking that Laura would have stayed in the car.
I know.
And so before we like get to that like ending,
Oh
how long does it take to look in a trunk for
God.
shoes that you're looking
Oh
for?
God.
Like
Do you want
like
me to
I
notes I
know
have on that?
like, like do you know how often I'm looking for something and I'm like that's the place I'm gonna check and then I think about it, I look at it, and I don't actually go check. It was just crazy.
It was too much. I'm like, how long does it take to look for shoes? God darn it. Like, I couldn't handle it. And then when Joss came to see Ava and she was in a panic, and Ava handled that really well. Like, she was really kind to her. And then, Joss walks away and she finally gets to the trunk. But what made me, I loved the expression on her face. Like, that was such a classic moment. I absolutely enjoyed it very much. What I did not like, though, is how Kevin could convince her to leave and that he would take care of it.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. Like we
Yes.
see her like you said, you liked her interaction with Joss. You thought like it was sweet. To be honest, I was actually hoping for something a little bit more. And I mean, I know the storyline didn't really call for it. Like Joss had her storyline with Oscar and Ava had all the stuff going on with Carly and Ryan. But in that
Yeah.
moment, I kind of wished that Ava pulled out mothering, but Ava style. Sort of reminiscent of Carly, but in Ava's way. Like being tough, but also being caring and actually willing to take care of Jocelyn. Because at this point, like she was needing a ride and the Uber was coming. So part of me would have liked to see Ava kind of take care of Jocelyn and be like, I'll take you to the hospital.
When Joss was waiting for Uber and then said it arrived, I was hoping in that time frame that Ava would say, hop in the car, that I would bring you there. And I really felt the same way as you. I was hoping for that human side to Ava, that quote unquote mother instinct in the way that Ava would do it to help her out. And then that would have saved Carly too. But that is not the way things went down.
No, it didn't, because that's true. If she had gone there and then checked the trunk afterward, then they were already at the hospital. So Ava could have handled the situation as she would have wanted. But going back to what you said, yeah, I am surprised she walked away because as we see the story progress, Ava clearly doesn't want to get into any trouble. She doesn't want to get her hands dirty. And she certainly doesn't want to have anything happen to Carly because she knows damn well she'll never get away with it. And Sunny and Jason would hunt her down.
I was expecting some Ava fire. I
Me
know she can't
too.
put two together that it was Ryan, but she was just, it was weird seeing her that way because she was scared. She was drinking. She was going along with things to figure out what's happening. She wanted to help him, but I wanted some fire, some dots to connect faster, some why did you do that? That is insane kind of Ava.
Same here. I really really thought that something would have happened or that she would have connected the dots in some shape or form, but she really really didn't. And like that's the thing. I at first I was thinking like with her drinking and the way she was responding to Ryan, I thought that she was just trying to play cool to keep him calm. That's what I thought she was doing. But I realize now she really didn't know what was happening. To her, she's like, I'm in love with him and I think he's having a nervous breakdown. So I'm really not sure, and I'm kind of tiptoeing around him. And not only will I kind of appease him and say things that he wants to hear, but she actually went along with it. It was more than just appeasing and saying nice things. She went along with it, and I'm really surprised. Like you have no idea what's going on with him. You have no idea what happened between him and Carly to get her in there. He's saying that this is somehow a wedding gift, and you clearly don't know him. You don't know what he's capable of, and you had no idea what he was going to do to Carly. So yeah, I'm a little surprised that she walked away. And honestly, at this point, like, I mean, I know she kind of gave Jason information that Ryan didn't want them to have, but we saw those last scenes of Carly. We saw those last scenes of her feeling Kevin and Ava were to blame. So it kind of sucks, but she, I mean, she's in a hole right now. Like she thought that Carly and Sunny hated her before. When
Mm.
more of the details come out, because Carly did look up and see her, it's not going to be really good for Ava at all.
But I'm wondering what the heck is going to happen to Ava at this point in time because I just kept getting more and more nervous. She looked convinced as to she was buying everything that Ryan was saying. No matter what, she was in it. She was in it 110%. But when he held on to her collar, like my heart just stopped. I was like, what is he going to do? He's losing it. He's losing all control of everything. And he thinks Ava is the light of his life. And then when they jumped over, or he jumped over and dragged with, I was like, oh, I thought maybe Jason would like try to catch Ava, but that didn't happen.
Honestly, she'll be fine. She survived a fall like that before. She fell off the exact same bridge in Port Charles, so once before.
Right.
So I just find it funny because they're like, "This is the bridge to Canada." I'm like, it looks a lot like the footbridge in Port Charles. And when
That's
Carly was,
right.
and when Carly woke up, she's like, "Where am I?" I'm like, "You're kind of where Stan gave birth to Scout." Is what it looks like. It's the same set. And I love Carly did an amazing job because like the way that they filmed it, we saw the set, like we saw the slant behind her, and it wasn't exactly all that high, but it definitely was
Yeah.
slanted. But Carly did a really good job of making it seem like way higher and that she had a like far to climb. So I think she deserves like kudos for
Yeah,
that
it made
because
me giggle because
I can't imagine how ridiculous it must have been like to film that scene to like crawl up three thingies.
I know. I was giggling and then she had to like lift her leg. So I think that she embodied the my legs are hurt or sore from maybe being bashed. We don't know because she
Well,
was
what
kind of like lifting her leg and losing her balance and looking up. But I'm thinking, but it's not that high. She's looking down, like, but it's not that far.
I mean, wouldn't your joints hurt when you've been bent for so long in a
Right?
trunk? I have a hard time standing up, so much less what Carly went through. I'm sure she's all kinds of sore. I hope he didn't do anything to like hurt her to make sure she couldn't walk or save herself. I have no idea. But the thing that okay, so going back to what you said that Ava was so convinced of that Ryan, well, that Kevin is Kevin. So the thing is, why would Laura lie to you? What reason? Because like I mean, they may not agree on a lot of things, but so far they've portrayed their relationship as utterly respectful between
Absolutely.
Ava and Laura. So at this point, why on earth would Laura lie? And honestly, I'm not sure why Laura didn't give her added information. Not only is this Ryan Chamberlain, why didn't you throw in that he killed Kiki or that he was a serial killer?
So I am surprised that Laura didn't offer up more information, especially the fact that she's with Jason. Ava should know the severity of the situation that's happening. And it was just lackluster. Like it could have come together in such a different way.
I think so too. And now that we're talking, I'm wondering if why that maybe the reason Ava's misreading the situation is because she thinks that they're there for Carly.
I can see why Ava would be concerned about the whole Carly situation. Carly's world, and Jason always has to save her, and everything revolves around Carly. But the thing is, too, with Laura being there, why would she be okay with Jason shooting Kevin if it was actually Kevin? Laura knows the
That's true.
depths of Kevin's mental breakdown. So there was a lot of clues there that could help Ava, as messed up as it is, help her understand that there's no way Laura would let this happen.
Yeah, that's the part I think that should have clicked with Ava. And do you know what I find a little ironic is that Ava caused Morgan's nervous breakdown, like, and now she's protecting someone she loves, who she believes is having a mental breakdown.
Ooh, that is so good. I did not think of that. That's amazing.
So yeah, I mean, none of this is happening the way that I thought it would. I mean, I'm loving that Laura is maybe stepping up in some fashion, like it's some variation of maybe what we could have imagined. But yeah, I kind of thought Ava would have a bigger role, like rather than like getting marriage advice from Julian. I thought that perhaps she'd be catching on at some point. The man you
That
love has
scene.
has
Oh my God.
I thought it was funny, but what was interesting about the scene with Julian is that we got Julian's take on Alexis and Kim and what he thinks is important in a relationship, which is being accepted for who you are and being honest about who you are. So that was interesting.
I also wanted to add no holding people at knife point.
That too is, I think, a really big part in making a marriage work. I know it's worked for me so
Yes.
far.
Me
So
too. Even though sometimes it's hard, but yes, me too.
you lock all of the kitchen drawers at that point. So one thing, I mean, about the whole storyline this week is that we had no idea what was going to happen. Like we got to Friday, we kind of saw, what's going on, but I mean, all week it was really riveting. We didn't know what was going to happen. And Glennis Johnson said, "Love, love, love this week's storyline. Enjoy how much the cast is involved, and the fact that Ryan might not get caught is putting me on the edge of my seat." So that's really interesting. I love that the whole cast is being involved because seriously, I really feel like the entire cast has been in on this storyline, except for Michael. Michael's just having and doing his own thing.
Oh,
And
cute. Oh my God, he's so cute. I just wanted to give him a hug.
one thing though about the whole Ryan storyline is that we can't forget. Like, did you think that Ryan was going to hurt Cameron?
I don't know. See, like, I feel that Ryan had just completely lost all sense of, well, he did lose sense on reality a long time ago, but I feel that he might have just for security reasons, just because he thought maybe Elizabeth or whoever knew where he was. Maybe he didn't know Franco survived, and maybe Cam knew the truth. Like, there could have been so many things going through Ryan's mind for him to keep Cam. Like, I could have seen him do that. And thank goodness Cam got that text because I was on the edge of my seat the entire time thinking, no, this kid really does not need this right now.
I know. And I mean, I even posted about it. I was so nervous. I was like, you better not touch a hair on this kid's head. I said he's the future Mr. Dost, which I think is going to happen.
I
I don't
love
think
that.
I'm alone. And I mean, I know it's a sucky thing to kind of say now because like Oscars
I
is,
know.
well, they're making it look like Oscars nearing his end. And obviously, like, I think both relationships would be meaningful, but the fact that they kind of gave Oscar this disease and it looks like he's going to be ridden out, and the way that they have shown Cameron, it does make you think that those two might end up together. And Angelina 647 agrees with me. Says yes, I believe that Cam will end up with Jocelyn. They make a cute pair. But aside from love, which we will get to because there was a lot of that with the kids in Niagara trip.
Yes.
So he gets away and he's okay. So that I'm really happy about. But the thing is, the kid underscore I'm said, I think this is his way of finding out Franco isn't the killer. So, okay, so of all people, we've talked about this. The whole town is involved in this storyline, and we really didn't know how this was all going to come together and who would be really crucial in getting to Ryan Chamberlain. Who knew that Cam would be? Who knew?
I know. He played such an important role in letting them know where to look. I was just floored.
Exactly. And so the thing about that thought from the kid was, that this was his way of finding out that Franco wasn't the killer. And it is really interesting because why Cam wouldn't believe his mother? I know that he thinks that she's delusional about Franco and whatever, that's fine, that's his impression. But the point is, she said he was cleared of charges. That's the police discovering that he's innocent, and not just that he's innocent, who did it. So she gives him all this information. Why would she lie to him about the police?
He's a teenage boy. It's Cam. We know that he's not always super logical. It fits in exactly to who he is. What I absolutely loved is that Trina called the hospital.
Yeah, so in that sense is why I think this person's comment is actually right, because obviously he sees Ryan Chamberlain and Trina calls the hospital and confirms that Kevin Collins is there. So in a way, yes, seeing Ryan Chamberlain, not only did Cam's role was, hey, let's, like, he gave the location of Ryan Chamberlain, but it allowed him to believe his mother before he actually sees her.
Yes, and I love their conversation. I like more and more I'm loving Elizabeth. I know it's weird, but I do. When we've talked about the fact that she's getting more time and we see
She
the
is.
development with her and her family. And I loved how she said she was proud of him for making sure that Oscar was okay. And he was so excited. He's like, so does this mean I'm not in trouble? She's like, oh, you're in trouble. I just want to let you know that I'm happy with your actions with taking care of Oscar.
I know, kids are so stupid. It's like they do things that are bad. And yes, on one hand, as parents, you're kind of impressed with how cunning they are, how smart they were, the thought process, and going about all of this. But like, yeah, you're gonna get punished all kinds. Like, we can
Yeah.
admire what you did and how you did it and punish you still. Like that's just what it is. But yeah, like the one thing that did impress me by Elizabeth in that phone call is that she'll often pick at Cam, and she tends to do that like the moment he walks in the door. And I mean, honestly, it's reflective of probably many teenager parent relationships. It really is. But what I loved about that phone call is that she jumped in right away to the positive. Immediately, she told him that she was proud. And I think that that's really, really meaningful for Cameron. And I think he needs a little bit more of that. And then she followed up with, of course, you're still in trouble. But afterwards, I was like, was part of that to butter him up because she is
Yeah.
really concerned about Cameron coming around on Franco because, like, I mean, that would be horrible for the family dynamic if Cameron holds on to the stance that he has.
I think that they're gonna have to do like family therapy, and it's gonna be pretty funny. And then they're gonna bring back like game night, and we're gonna get to see what that looks like, and it's gonna be hilarious.
I would love to see a Weber slash Baldwin game night. And
Oh
so,
my god,
okay,
and Scott has to be there.
oh my gosh, yes, that would be so amazing. So, I mean, look, we love Cam and we're not the only ones. And there was a lot of other people that were really hoping that Ryan wouldn't have touched him. And Claudia Fox 40 said, after all the frustration with Ryan and it's finally wrapping up, you had better not touch a hair on Cam's head. We will revolt. I thought that was hilarious. Someone else, too, and I admire their passion. It's Stamfly123 said, if you try to do something to hurt Cameron, I will kill you, Ryan Chamberlain. I won't let you hurt Cameron. Okay, Ryan? And I really love that because honestly, Jason failed today. So she wants to step in and kill Ryan. I'm all for it, even though he didn't hurt Cam. Someone's got to get him at this point.
I know, like a shoulder wound. Why didn't you shoot him in the leg? I didn't
Why
understand.
don't you just shoot him in the like kill spot? Like just shoot him. Just shoot him.
Yes, I
Um,
wanted him to suffer. I wanted him to suffer a little bit. I wanted him to say what he did. I wanted Ava to hear the
oh
words
yeah,
out
that's
of
true.
Ryan's mouth, and I wanted there to be some suffering.
I think that's probably why he's not going to die right now is because I mean of all people and Ava's still there. I think we're still waiting for her to get her due, and that's probably why it unfolded the way that it did. It's kind of maybe giving Ava a chance to know more. Not that I know how that would come about, but to like have her own reaction. Okay, so we know that I don't like these predictions, but honestly, what do I know about predicting things? I like I like to hope what I want happens, and that's not how soap operas work. Clearly, so Oscar is he's getting worse, and the characters are helping us understand the story. Like Trina, the way she was talking to Cameron was kind of letting the audience know that it's getting bad and time is getting closer to us saying goodbye to Oscar. So someone said this. Jenny Arnold 4 said, I think Oscar will die and Drew will donate a kidney to Jordan since he ran her over with his car.
100%. I said that last week.
Shows how much I listen. I think it's crappy. If anybody was gonna die, it would be Ryan. But the thing is, if we're talking about this transplant, doesn't it speed up the timeline just a tad? Because Jordan's sick now and needs a transplant now. So if we're predicting that she gets Oscar's kidney, that would kind of mean that things might get sped up a little bit.
I think he's going to be on the plane ride home.
What? Why? Why would you be this depressing?
I don't want to be. Okay, so the reason I think it's going to be sped up, it was all that romantic talk with him and Joss and them wanting to be together for that night and him going to see Niagara. And I actually thought about you at some point because he was talking about how it takes 40 people to turn off the falls at night. And I'm like, oh, wow, Mish is probably really buying this right now. And then, and just all of that in the moment stuff. And then when they got to the hospital and how he was talking to her about how he wants to leave Cam car, which I thought was really cute. What he said,
I
he's like,
kept
I want
rewinding. I was like, what is going on? Like, what? Like,
he
just
wants to
hearing
leave.
him say that, it was so heavy.
I know, but the joke that he made about leaving it for
Yeah.
Cam was Cam will always think about what he did to the car and that secretly Oscar's not a good person or something like that. It was just really sweet and just him, I don't know, it just like he's making peace with what's happening and he wants Joss to make peace with it too. Just made me think that things would speed up. Like he would go on the chopper and have another seizure and then they get him to the hospital just in time to help him with the end of the seizure, but the end is the end. And then there's the kidney.
I don't want to talk anymore. This is like so hard because now that you're saying it, yeah, it's kind of true. Even though I'm the one, like, oh my god, I'm like dealing with this and processing right now while I'm talking to you. But like I even said that Trina was trying to tell the audience that this is coming soon, but I mean to me soon meant he'll be in the hospital for a while, and then that'll happen. But the whole like Jordan needing a transplant, I feel like, oh my gosh, this could happen. That would be so horrible. That would be so horrible.
So
And I mean, not that I know what happens outside of the 1 hour we watch GH. It's not like I know what actually goes on in Port Charles. But from what I've seen, I just don't feel like Kim and Drew got to like bond with him. They didn't show scenes like that.
that's so true, right? Because he was always off with Joss.
Yeah, I mean, they had a really cute trip. Like, ultimately, that's got to be a fun teenage thing. But at this point, I don't know how Kim isn't just like livid with Jocelyn because she's supposed to know better. You know, like he had a seizure when you went into a hole, and she kind of expressed that she wouldn't do something like that again. And I get it. When someone's dying, you want to make everything happen for them. But
Right.
I don't know. I still am not impressed with her judgment to kind of go on another adventure like this.
I just think she's giving in to him because it's easier. It's hard to say no to somebody who's dying.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, didn't he play that card when he was trying to get Cameron to accept going on the trip?
Yes. That was so funny.
Oh my gosh, Cameron was hilarious when, like, I mean, we thought the same thing too when Trina was hinting at leaving Joss alone and kind of saying she wanted some alone time with Cam. I was like, oh no, Cam doesn't look ready for anything to happen.
No, but did you Joss's reaction to that?
She was a big jelly belly, a bowl full
Right?
of jelly.
I love that. So bowl full of jelly, and then when she was talking to him and crying in the hospital, she licked her lips again. So I don't know if I just noticed it when she talks to Cam or if it's just a habit that she has in general.
Okay, I'm gonna start paying attention to that. But now that we're talking about the kids and Joss's reaction, okay, so you're right. She was jealous, and then when he was having a seizure, I mean, didn't Carly go over this with her? What would you do if if Oscar had a seizure on this trip? And she said, call 911, take him to the nearest hospital. But what did she actually do? She texted Cam, not Trina, her best friend, that she was like, Trina tells me everything. I'm so sad she didn't tell me that she had a crush on Cam. She texts Cam. Cam shows up. Trina thinks a blanket is going to help the seizure, and Cameron is the only one who's like, call 911.
I didn't notice that Joss called Cam first. I love that, but I was dying when you were saying that Trina put a blanket on thinking she could help. But thank goodness for Cam's quick thinking and logic. But yeah, they're totally gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, he might be a hothead at times, but it feels like he's very like sound and reliable
Well,
in
he's good
another
under
way
pressure.
too. Totally, I see that. Good point. The one thing that kind of surprised me was that when Kim got the call that Oscar had a seizure, she didn't seem phased. They were Niagara Falls.
I know. I was really surprised. And I honestly thought maybe she would bring Julian with her. Like the relationship has changed slightly and she wants him more involved. But yeah, she wasn't panicked at all.
No, I mean, she handled it really well. Like, what's the point of getting angry? You just want to get there fast. But she didn't seem to have a reaction period. So I thought that was strange. And she's so lucky Drew is super rich because I love how she's like, do you want to drive or do you want to use your rich people flying apparatuses? Um, so, so,
Okay,
yeah.
but we have to keep in mind that she just had some really dirty fun times with Julian, so maybe she was just still chill.
Yeah. Well, and at that point, I was like, see, this is fun, Kim. Like, you know, like, like this is cute. Loving this. I love that. But Jason kind of, well, he didn't interrupt. By the way, they did you
No,
know they spent all their time like closing all the blinds. There was none over the front door. It's like a big window
I
on
know.
the front door. Thing is
I
with
love it.
Jason is that I mean we saw in the parking garage when he found Carly's phone like how devastated he was, and I mean it's that kind of like intense love that I said I found was just so much more pronounced after he came back to the show. But the thing is, he's so focused on Carly that he couldn't care less to inform Julian that his sister is about to marry Ryan Chamberlain, and Ryan Chamberlain was the serial killer, and Ryan
I
Chamberlain
know.
killed his niece. I was like, I think, I get it. Julian's being a poo to you. He doesn't want to tell you where Ava is, and you need to find Carly, and I get it. And in Julian's defense, he doesn't want to ruin his sister's wedding. But really, really, you're not going to tell him? So because like I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you happen to have taken Julian with you, Ava would have, believed you would have had somebody in your corner in a way.
I just thought it would have been a nice way to. I'm not saying it's a truce. I'm not saying not saying his piece, but I'm saying in this
No,
moment, in this unusual circumstance, it would have done some good. It would have been a nice thing to do to let this man know the danger his sister is in.
because then in that context it could have been a larger blowout, because at that point Julian would have been there. It would have, I mean, I know that she feels that, you know, Julian too had his, I guess, reservations about her relationship, but ultimately he supports her no matter what. And I think if Julian had been there, we might have gotten that ginormous blowout, and we might have gotten one of those moments where Ava grabs a gun and shoots him. So I think it could have been a
Yes.
lot cooler, and if a completely different ending on Friday had Julian gotten to go with them. And I don't know if he really scored any points with Kim there, with the way the whole, you know, back and forth. Because it's like, for her, it's like, well, that's my son's girlfriend's mother. And she was already taken away from her family wrongfully for months. And I'm pretty sure Joss would be sad if her mom was dead. Like,
Right?
you know what
Oh
I
my
mean? Like,
gosh.
it's just the whole thing was just kind of like funny. We see Julian having his fun with Kim, and we were led to believe for a huge portion of today's
Oh.
episode that immediately after his fun with Kim, he went over to kind of have some more fun.
So when I saw Julian at Alexis's door, I was nervous, but my mouth was like gaping open because of the things he was saying. And I
I couldn't
couldn't
believe
believe it.
it.
I was in shock. And I'm surprised they wrote those things on daytime TV.
I know, because Jackson was home sick today, and I was so sick of watching Paw Patrol that I put on GH for that bit, and I was like, ah, crap, you shouldn't be watching this
I
right
did
now.
the same and I made them cover their eyes.
I think that should have been our first clue, was that it was so shocking. But I thought, oh my gosh, maybe he really is sick of, like, you know, being excluded. I mean, even though it makes sense that he might not get to tag along in this emergency, I don't know. But yeah, like, he was like, I mean, everything he was saying sounded true because he was saying
Yes.
them.
I know, but it was factual. It was, it really fed into what she's been doing, how he's been reacting to her. Are they're still in each other's orbits, like it or not? And he is kind of left aside when it comes to Kim and Drew. So it all felt very valid and confirmed all of the things that we've been talking about.
And the chemistry they had last week at the bar together.
Yes.
But you know, it also would have been a clue that that it was all a dream, was the fact that he
What?
was like the fact that he was like quoting Taylor Swift by calling Alexis his endgame.
Oh, I
I
didn't
was
even
like,
catch that at
I'm
all.
like, I'm like, I guess that's a clue that this is all a dream. But man, doesn't it not suck to wake up from that and to know that it was all a dream?
Damn, well, that's why she needed some vodka.
Oh, I was so disappointed. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, she was coping with that. So it's like, are we not getting the level that she was suffering? Because, like, I mean, that's a huge thing. She went out and actively bought the bottle, and she lives like in the woods. So, like, she had to go far. And that's the thing I'm wondering. It's like, did we miss something? Or is she feeling, I don't know, like, is she feeling an addiction to Julian? And
I
I don't know what about that dream was so upsetting to her that she kind of crossed that line. You know, like, that's the thing. I just felt like, oh my gosh, like, she's really not okay. And at this point, I was really hoping he would show up at her door. Somebody
well,
would show up at her door.
I think it's based on her last therapy session. Like he asked a pretty direct and forward question, and she had to listen to herself say out loud
That's true. A
the
lot's coming out.
dangerous things that she did. Yeah, a lot's coming out. And Julian
Yeah.
fits into that whole category of making dangerous choices. And that emotion is probably still very raw at the fact that she digs him, like she still wants him, knows the consequences, knows, like is very aware of what has happened previously and is not able to move forward from it. And I'm not like drinking is not the solution, but I can see how she can be so raw
Okay,
based on
that
what she's
makes,
learning.
yeah, like, now that you're saying that, it makes sense that there's a lot bubbling up right now from her therapy sessions, and then it kind of coming out in that dream. I know this is probably not the right thing to say, but it's like she's beating herself up for liking this person who's kind of like not good for her. But I mean, Harley did it for years. And I mean, yes, her and Sunny are in this different, more emotionally stable place, but I mean, she wouldn't be the only one.
Seriously,
And I know
Poor
that's not
Charles.
really like an argument for or
Not
against,
the
but
only one.
I mean, if we looked at the things that like, I mean, hello, Elizabeth was with somebody who used to be a serial killer, and he did kidnap one of her sons.
Oh, because I was going to say he didn't actually do something directly to her,
He
but he
did.
did indeed.
So, anyways, like whatever. I mean, I just hope someone stops Alexis. Even better, I hope that she would be able to kind of stop that herself.
Yes, I hope for that.
Oh, that's where Finn would come in handy, I think, anyways. But okay, so back at Charlie's,
Yes.
we have
Oh,
like a lot going on. We have a lot
yes.
going on. So I mean, Michael seemed more than happy to be dragged there. Like he was all happy, go lucky, like Nina's hilarious. She kind of like takes up everything. She kind of zooms in with all of her energy into the scene, kissing Valentine, tossing him aside, and like ready to throw Michael. And to be honest, as a mom, Michael's a good pick.
I think Michael's an excellent catch. What mother would love to have him? And I think that anything after his Tinder date is a blessing. So meeting Sasha is definitely a step up from his last experience.
I love how cute he was with her when she was like, "Well, do you want to bail?" He's like, "No, I'm all good. You should have seen the last girl I went out with." So yeah, totally. I think they were really cute. And you know what? I never once thought of Michael and Nina. But do you know what's really interesting? It puts Michael in Maxie's orbit.
It sure does. I liked her face when she was like, "Why are they together?"
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's because she kind of doesn't think too highly of Sasha right now, but she better watch out because Valentine knows what she's up to. He saw what she did or saw
I
something.
know. I got freaked out there.
Didn't you love the introductions that he made, like like saying that the bartender is Christina because she's like, oh, they know your drink here, and then when he had to go and introduce Sasha to Sam, I was like, Sam is my, she's like friend, and I'm like, doesn't that make her like an aunt by Jason? Jason's his uncle, and
Yes.
that's anyway. So I just thought that was really hilarious. It's like I can't even explain like you can't even begin to explain how connected he is to Sam in all kinds of ways to this girl. But I mean, if she thought her introduction to Port Charles was something, getting involved with Michael and his family is gonna be super fun should she stick around to see what that's all about.
So true.
So everyone seems to think that Christina's job is stupid. Alexis shows up asking her if she could ditch work like months ago. And then Sam shows up hoping she can once again ditch work and just like have like a girls' night out. But I loved her suggestion. How about a girls' night in? It's like you're already at the bar. Just sit there and kind of keep her company. So, Sam's laying it on thick, talking about Jason and Christina's being supportive, but I am surprised though, because when Sam made that phone call to Jason, she confessed that she almost told Christina the truth.
I know. I was really surprised.
It's like, be all figure out what you want to do. Like earlier this week she was talking to Jason and she even said, like maybe I just forget the whole thing. And part of me feels like forget the whole thing. Like maybe you should. Like I don't like her getting all like close with Shiloh, but she does have some new information. Not only was that, what did you think when Daisy showed up to Sam's? Like in the end it was for like an apology, but I honestly thought Daisy was so hurt that Shiloh was sort of putting her to the side that she was willing to kind of turn on him to Sam. That's what I initially thought when she showed up at Sam's door.
I felt the same way. And then my second thought was, come and clean my house.
I know I had toys everywhere too when I was like watching that. But okay, so she offers to clean the toys and then she doesn't. I was like, I'm gonna unforgive you until Shiloh.
Right?
But when she bent over and we saw the tattoo, I mean, obviously I figured that was like from the cult, but her trying to tell Sam that her like super shiny tattoo was an old one from things she used to do, I was just like, whoa. But apparently Sam has a photographic memory. Like she took a screenshot with her eyeballs and she was able to draw it after. And we got the confirmation from Shiloh's iPad. So I'm just hoping that Sam kind of solves this whole thing before Christina ends up with like a really gross tattoo. Because that's like
Yes.
not the best tattoo like you can get like at
No,
all.
it's horrible. Oh, what a Willow. You know what I was thinking though? Could you imagine that you see like, you see Willow, like a shot with Willow, and you can just see a portion of it, but that her tattoo was removed, so you just see some scarring in that place.
Oh, that would be really interesting. I thought you were going to be like, if Willow catches, like, it's just funny because Nina wants Michael to date her daughter, but
Yes. Oh yeah.
fail. Wrong daughter. Wrong daughter. You're helping out here. But yeah, so I mean, that would be really cool evidence for us to see, like making that link between Willow and the cult. We said this earlier. You said this how Carly is Jason's whole world, and Sam used that in her
Yeah.
conversation. And I was just like, oh, I mean, I know she's trying to help Christina, but I have a feeling Christina is going to be really hurt. You know, even if, let's say, Christina comes to see that Shiloh's dangerous and all of this was like horrible. I mean, let's be honest, since this whole thing, Sam and her have been having these really intimate moments and they're all lies.
I know. I do feel bad for her. I'm hoping that she'll forgive her in time, but she's gonna have a really difficult go at this.
I think so. It's kind of like it's like adding on more that I did not anticipate. Like the whole, you know, how Sam and Christina's relationship will be affected after this. Same with the whole Ryan thing. There's so many things added on at this point that I did not anticipate. Like the Ryan storyline totally did not need other layers to the whole thing. And so while all of this is going down in Port Charles, Sunny is getting into some adventures. Some adventures. I have to say that the first scene of him in Turkey, I was so pumped. I was so excited. But then as the week went on, I was like, honestly, I'm so focused on this Ryan storyline that I'm just kind of like, meh, find Dante already.
I felt the same way. And since when does Sunny go on adventures by himself? So I was so happy when Robert showed up because I'm like, you will survive now.
Well, yes, because Sunny figured. Cause look, if Sunny was gonna go do this, I figured you would come as Sunny Corinthos. You know, like you're a mobster. You're looking
Mm.
for this like mob in another place. I just figured he'd go in that way and use all of his connections. But yeah, he I mean, he got accused of being a cop. That had got to have made him cringe. You know what I mean? Like Sunny didn't seem all that bad or scary in that situation. And I just felt like, if anything, that's what I would have seen. And you're right. He went alone to take on like a cartel or a whole mob. Like what?
I know. It's strange.
It was strange, but I kind of like in a way two iconic. Once again, people getting thrown together, like Michael and Nina in a scene getting thrown together, Laura and Jason getting thrown together, having two iconic characters like Sunny and Robert getting thrown together in an adventure. And it was just interesting that they took the time, like that Robert took the time to provide a rationale as to why he would risk
Yes.
anything to help. But I mean, I
So
just think like it's a cute rationale. It's sweet and all, kind of acknowledging the role Sunny played in Robin's life, but at the same time, I get the vibe. I mean, like it's not like I watched it when Robert was, young and in the show. It's more in the last like 25 years that I've watched it. So what I've gotten to know of Robert is that he likes adventure, no matter what. Like he's just on board.
so
And
true.
I loved how the fortune teller girl turned out to be an agent and like shows up later.
Yeah, because that was really confusing to my tired, sick brain.
I was like, let's go back to Ryan. I want to go back to Ryan right now.
Oh gosh. Yes, I felt the same.
So yeah, once again, so now, okay, so honestly, it was Friday. Right now I'm tired because it's like Friday night that we're talking. So
Mhm.
ultimately, I don't know what to think. So when we were left off with the storyline, the agent is telling Sunny do nothing. So again, she's sort of pointless. She basically pointed them to a room, gave them barely their information, and basically Sunny and Robert are just gonna like continue going rogue and doing their own thing. But like Sunny and him came to the conclusion that maybe Dante is not, what was it? Like he wasn't being held captive, but he was held hostage. Which again,
Yeah.
I don't really know what that means, like at
Me
all.
neither.
Because I was like, ooh, he wasn't being held captive. He like wants to be there, but they didn't go that route.
I
So
thought
I
they
don't know.
would, so it was surprising.
Yeah. So I'm still curious to see in what condition they are gonna find Dante in. So I just want to, okay, this is gonna be different for us in terms of how we close off our podcast this week. So I kind of want to close it off on someone's predictions. Okay, they made a lot of predictions, but I'm going to focus on one. Okay, so this is from Jennifer Francis 8326. I thought this was really interesting and really insightful, and this goes to your super disturbing prediction about Oscar dying. So this is what she thinks. Oscar dies. Drew is so distraught, he decides to use a flash drive so he doesn't remember the pain of losing him. And in the end, Obviously, that would mean that he would remember his love for Kim. So Drew and Kim would get back together, and then in the end, Scout would be raised by Jason, which is kind of an interesting thing to add in about Scout being raised by Jason, because even this week, it's always the kids. Like Danny is his,
What?
and she always talks to Jason about the kids. And she was like, "You put down the kids tonight." He's like, "Yeah." So that meant he put down Danny and he also put down Scout.
That is so interesting. Oh my God, that comment just gave me chills.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. It makes me sad. Like the whole Oscar dying thing. I know I'm all like, Joss can, but honestly, as we're getting closer to this like reality that Oscar could die for realsies, it makes me really sad. But this prediction is super exciting. So like honestly, super well done. Love it.
Yay, we did it.
Okay, so on that note, have a great weekend and I'll talk to you next week.
You too. Bye.
Bye.